He did everything right. He never raised his voice, never flirted with another woman. He helped with dinner, folded laundry, even remembered her sister's birthday. He was a good man, a kind man, the kind of man any woman would say she wants. And yet, his wife no longer wanted him. She pulled away in bed. She turned her cheek when he leaned in. She said she was tired, overwhelmed, just not in the mood. So he backed off, gave her space, told himself it was a phase. Until one night they were out with friends, and he saw it. She laughed, but not the quiet, polite laugh he'd been getting. Number. This was different. It was the kind of laugh that made her shoulders loosen, the kind that made her eyes sparkle, the kind she used to have for him. Only now, it was aimed at someone else. A man across the table, not her husband. This man didn't try as hard, didn't hold her hand, didn't check if she was okay. But she leaned in. She played with her hair. And for a moment, her whole body seemed to say, I feel alive again. And that's when the question hit him, harder than any fight, sharper than any silence. Why does she light up for him, but shut down for me? He went home that night with a question he couldn't shake. Is it possible that desire doesn't follow goodness? That women, no matter how educated, no matter how loving, are still wired by something deeper, more primal, more instinctive? Because she said she wasn't in the mood, but her body said something else. So who was telling the truth? Her words? Or her biology? What if the real reason she no longer wanted you isn't because you failed her, but because you stopped triggering her? And what if desire doesn't care about how nice you are, but about how centered you are, how still you are, how grounded your energy feels? What if the man she truly responds to isn't the one who pleases her emotions, but the one who commands her instincts? Today, we're pulling back the curtain. Because for decades, researchers like Freud, Kinsey, and John Money have known something most men were never taught. Women don't respond to performance. They respond to polarity, to gravity, to the invisible tension of masculine energy that doesn't chase, but simply is. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to what she once felt when she first met you, and what she still hopes you might remember how to be. She says she's not into that kind of guy. You know the type: confident, calm, mysterious, a bit distant. Doesn't talk too much, doesn't compliment every 5 minutes. She says she prefers kindness, gentleness, a man who shares feelings, who listens, who's emotionally available. And maybe you believed that. Maybe you built yourself around that image. The nice guy, the safe man, the husband who always asks, are you okay? But then something strange happened. You did everything right. And still, she stopped wanting you. Meanwhile, a man who didn't try half as hard, a colleague, a friend, maybe just a stranger at the gym, got a different version of her. Brighter, looser, more alive. So, what's going on? This isn't just your story. It's a pattern scientists have studied for decades. One of them was Alfred Kinsey, a pioneer in human sexuality. He conducted studies where women were shown various stimuli images, voices, faces. They were asked, does this turn you on? Many said no. But here's what Kinsey did differently. He didn't stop at their answers. He measured their bodies, their blood flow, their arousal response. And guess what? Women said no, but their bodies said yes. They claimed no interest in dominant men, in assertive postures, in bad boy energy. Yet their physical reactions betrayed something deeper, something ancient, something biological. Because here's the thing most men were never told. What a woman says she wants, and what her body is wired to respond to, are often two very different things. Not because she's lying, but because she doesn't even fully know. Desire isn't logical. It's primal, subconscious, silent. Her body doesn't respond to how many times you asked if she's okay. It responds to the way you walk into a room, to the tension in your jaw, the depth of your voice, the fact that you're calm when she's spinning, that you hold your ground without raising your tone. That is frame. And women's bodies are drawn to it like gravity. Your wife may say, I love how gentle you are, and she means it. But if your gentleness comes with neediness, with too many explanations, with too much pursuit, it doesn't create attraction. It creates safety, but not fire. Fire comes from friction, from polarity, from tension, not emotional chaos, but masculine stillness. So no, she's not reacting anymore. Not because she doesn't care, but because she can't feel that tension between you. And she misses it. Even if she can't name it. Even if she says, I just don't feel that way anymore. She doesn't know that what she's missing isn't romance. It's your edge. The edge you had when you didn't ask for permission to be yourself. The edge you carried when your energy filled the room, without saying a word. So the next time she says, I'm not in the mood, ask yourself, am I offering my presence or just my politeness? Because Kinsey proved it. Freud hinted at it. John Money confirmed it. The body reacts before the brain catches up. And if her body isn't reacting now, it's not because she's broken. It's because the part of you that once ignited her has gone quiet, not dead, just buried. And the path back isn't louder compliments. It's deeper gravity. He thought being nice would save them. He believed that if he just loved her more, helped more, listened more, gave her space, took her shopping, held her when she cried, then maybe, just maybe, she'd want him again. But all his niceness, it didn't light her up, it dulled her. Because no one told him the truth. Women don't desire niceness. They desire presence, polarity, power. And power doesn't mean control. It doesn't mean dominance, volume, or aggression. It means frame. Frame is the invisible structure of who you are. It's your boundary, your inner world, your ability to hold your center even when she can't hold hers. A man with frame can sit in silence without reaching for reassurance. He can hear her anger without scrambling to fix it. He can be in the same room and make her feel his energy, not by touching her, but by not needing to. That's what triggers her instincts. That's what makes her body remember what her mind forgot. Because when you bend constantly to please, when you try too hard to avoid her upset, to smooth the tension, to keep everything okay, you disappear. Not physically, but energetically. She can't feel you anymore. And when she can't feel you, she can't want you. Here's what Freud hinted at, what John Money confirmed, what biology screams behind polite conversation. Women crave the experience of a man they can't move, not emotionally numb, not passive, but still, solid, rooted. Your niceness? It becomes wallpaper, predictable, flat. Frame is what makes her heart skip, because it tells her, this man can hold me, even when I fall apart. It's not about being mean. It's about being unshakable. And you don't have to say a word. She feels it in how you walk, in how you breathe, in how you don't flinch when she tests the edges of your strength, because she will test it, not to break you, but to feel you. And when you collapse, when you rush to over-explain, over-apologize, over-please, she doesn't hate you. She just stopped desiring you, because her body only opens to what it trusts. And it doesn't trust words. It trusts energy, tension, grounded fire. So if she's gone quiet, if she doesn't flirt back, if she doesn't soften in your presence, it's not because you're a bad man. It's because she's forgotten how you feel when you're not trying to be liked. And here's the twist. The moment you stop chasing, stop performing, stop needing her to desire you, that's when her desire starts crawling back, quietly, slowly, through glances, through longer pauses, through the way she starts to lean toward your stillness, instead of away from your need. Because the masculine isn't loud. It's weight. It's presence. It's the man who no longer asks, what can I do to make her want me? And instead, lives from the question, how can I return to the version of me that once made her body say yes, without a word? His name was Mark, 56, married 32 years. A good man by every standard. He never forgot anniversaries, never came home drunk. He helped clean the dishes, paid the bills, asked about her day. He complimented her dress, rubbed her back when she was tired, even read relationship books to communicate better. And yet, his wife, Ellen, slowly drifted away. She smiled less, stopped laughing at his jokes, stopped reaching for him at night. When he touched her, she tensed. When he kissed her, she kissed back, but with lips that said, Let's just get through this. He tried harder, planned romantic dinners, bought her flowers, even cried once when she turned away in bed. Still, nothing changed. Until one day, he overheard her on the phone with her sister. She said, "Mark is perfect, but I don't feel anything anymore. He's too soft now. Everything feels flat." That crushed him, but it also woke something up. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat alone and thought back to who he used to be. Before the mortgage, before the routines, before he started walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. He remembered a younger version of himself, quieter, simpler, but solid. A man who didn't need to be liked every second because he respected himself first. That week, Mark made a decision. He stopped explaining, stopped overchecking, stopped trying to fix the tension. He didn't withdraw in anger. He withdrew into stillness. No more long apologies for things he didn't do. No more forcing hugs she didn't want. No more chasing warmth in cold places. He simply became still. He woke early, worked out, didn't talk unless there was something worth saying. He began to move slower, not passive, but present. He didn't ignore Ellen. He just stopped orbiting her. He stopped making her the emotional sun, around which he revolved. And slowly, something shifted. At first, she seemed confused, watched him with curious glances, asked, "Are you okay?" more than once. He smiled not dismissively, but with the calm of a man who had finally remembered himself. A few nights later, as he stood in the kitchen, brewing tea in silence, she walked up behind him and touched his back, gently but purposefully. No words, just her fingers resting on the man she thought she'd lost, but who had quietly returned. That night, she came to bed first, turned off the lamp, waited. He didn't move quickly. He didn't leap. He simply slid in beside her, warm, grounded, still, and for the first time in months, she curled into his chest, without a single request. Desire had returned, not because he said the right thing, not because he begged, but because he became the man her body had always remembered, and quietly missed. Not louder, not softer, just stronger, on the inside. He thought saying more would save her interest. He thought fixing the tension would bring her closer, but every word, every explanation, every attempt to please made her colder. That's when he learned the hardest truth. She didn't want more noise. She needed stillness. Wait, a presence that doesn't beg to be felt, but simply exists so fully, she can't ignore it. This isn't the silence of retreat. It's not punishment or detachment. It's something deeper, something primal. It's the kind of silence a mountain carries in a storm. Unmoved, grounded, unshaken. That's the kind of silence her body trusts. The kind that makes her look at you again. Not because you asked her to, but because she feels drawn. You don't rebuild her desire with compliments. You rebuild it with gravity. The man who says less, but feels more. The man who doesn't rush to fill every quiet space, but lets that space become charged with calm tension. It begins when you stop explaining, when you let her distance settle. Without reacting, she needs to feel the space again. Not the space between your words, but the space between her resistance and your steadiness. That's where her curiosity is reborn. Not through effort, but through contrast. When you stop orbiting her, she has room to miss your sun. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to demand affection to feel wanted. You need to become a man who doesn't flinch when she pulls away. That kind of man she can lean into. Stillness is not weakness. It's not passive. It's power without noise. And when you return to that, slowly, quietly, without permission-seeking or performance, you'll notice something. She lingers longer when you walk into the room. She watches you more than she speaks. She softens, not because you pushed, but because you stopped chasing. This isn't a tactic. It's a return to the version of you she once felt, when everything between you was electric, without either of you trying. You didn't lose your edge. You buried it under comfort, approval, apology. Now is the time to dig it back up, but not for her, for you. And when you do, you'll see something you've missed for years. She never stopped wanting you. She just couldn't feel you anymore. Not until your silence spoke louder than any compliment you've ever said. Desire doesn't die overnight. It fades, slowly. With every moment you become more predictable, more agreeable, more emotionally available, but less energetically present. You didn't lose her because you stopped loving her. You lost the fire because you forgot how to hold your edge. And the truth is harsh but freeing. Women don't stop desiring men because those men become bad. They stop desiring them because those men become safe, comfortable, unmoved by tension, but also uninspiring in presence. Desire doesn't grow in control. It grows in contrast. It grows in space. And the space she needed wasn't physical. It was spiritual. She needed to feel your gravity again. Not your help. Not your kindness. Not even your love in words. She needed to feel the weight of your presence when you say nothing at all. What draws her isn't your sweetness. It's your stillness. What reawakens her isn't your performance. It's the quiet certainty that you are okay with who you are, with or without her validation. And tonight, you have a choice. Not to fix her, not to chase her, not to ask her how she feels, but to simply return. Not to her, but to yourself. Return to your calm. Return to your edge. Return to the man she used to wonder about. Because he wasn't always trying to be understood. Tonight, say nothing. Don't touch. Don't ask. Just be where she can feel you. Still, grounded, present. Let her feel the man who no longer seeks approval. Let her feel the silence that holds power, not avoidance. Because if there's one thing her body will always remember, long after the dinners and gifts and gentle words, it's how safe she felt. In your strength. Not the strength of noise, but the strength of quiet, of gravity, of you. That may be the beginning of something worth remembering. Not just for her, but for you.